At 5:42 a.m. in the South China Sea, the USNS Salvor had just activated its underwater search system when all screens suddenly lit up, not a technical glitch, but signals from Chinese Coast Guard vessels closing in at flank speed. Over the communication channel, reports poured in.
General quarters, all hands, man your battle stations.
In just a few seconds, a salvage mission turned into a tense legal and tactical battle as China attempted to force its way into the race without realizing they were about to cross the red line, where the U.S. Navy's patience officially ran dry. To understand why a group of fishing boats worried the U.S. Navy admiral, you need to understand what was actually lying at the bottom of the sea. At 02:45 p.m., October 26, 2025. Local time, 2 aircraft, an FA-18 Super Hornet fighter jet, and an MH-60 Seahawk helicopter crashed into the South China Sea during a training mission. The good news is that our pilots are safe. But the bad news, the wreckage of those machines worth hundreds of millions of dollars is lying at the bottom of the sea, right in the backyard that China claims as its own. You might ask, why make such a big deal? It's just a pile of scrap metal underwater, right? Imagine this, that FA-18 is like your brand new iPhone 17 Pro. But instead of holding classified documents or your wife's romantic messages, it contains top-secret AESA radar algorithms and electronic warfare source code, and the MH-60 helicopter. It holds the anti-submarine system that Chinese submarines fear most. Carl Schuster, former intelligence chief of the Pacific Command, put it bluntly, "If Beijing gets its hands on it, they'll know exactly how to defeat us." For Beijing, this is like an early Christmas gift from God. On international military forums, the sarcasm directed at China's offer of humanitarian assistance for salvage is clear. As one observer Riley commented, China offering to help the U.S. salvage the aircraft is like a fox offering to guard the farmer's chicken coop. A humorous comparison, but one that accurately reflects the nature of the problem. The U.S. Navy, of course, understands this game well. They deployed the giant USNS Salvor TRs-52, a Safeguard-class salvage ship operated by the Military Sealift Command. The ship is equipped with a powerful 4 200-horsepower propulsion system, 2 propeller shafts for increased thrust and maneuverability, and a hydraulic system for lifting equipment capable of lifting up to 300 tons from the seabed. Accompanying it is the Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Dewey DDG-105 Riding Shotgun. With its renowned Aegis combat system, often likened to the all-seeing eye capable of tracking 100 targets simultaneously and 96 vertical launch tubes filled with missiles, Dewey sends a silent but powerful message: don't dare disturb the heavy lifting. And finally, the brightest star of the mission, Curvy 21, a sophisticated remotely operated underwater vehicle ROV with eyes and hands to survey, photograph, and collect data in the deep sea with high precision. Imagine playing a claw machine game at the supermarket, but instead of a flimsy claw and a cheap teddy bear, you have a robot arm accurate to the millimeter, and the prize is billion-dollar technology lying at a depth of 20,000 feet over 6,000 meters. However, the real challenge here lies on the legal front. This sea area is a nightmare for any international lawyer. China, ignoring the 2016 ruling of the International Court of Justice, continues to draw its unreasonable 9-dash line. To avoid being seen as an act of war, they do not send PLA Navy warships, but instead deploy gray zone tactics. They send Coast Guard vessels CCG, essentially white-painted ships, ostensibly enforcing the law, but comparable in size to destroyers and a fleet of maritime militia. Don't be fooled. These are not innocent fishermen going out to catch tuna. This is a paramilitary force trained to harass and block the sea lanes. Their goal is clear: to turn the U.S. salvage operation into a legal and safety mess, forcing the U.S. to abandon the mission due to exhaustion and the risk of collision. But they forgot one thing: challenging the U.S. is the fastest way to paint themselves into a corner. Instead of confronting them head-on, China's Coast Guard and Marine militia vessels began circling the salvage area, forming a tight 5-mile radius around the USNS Salvor. These fishing boats continuously dropped giant fishing nets and floating cables into the water, which they claimed were accidentally directed straight at the American ship. To outsiders, it was just marine debris. But to the CURV-21 submersible operating below these nets were as dangerous as sea mines. If the robot's propeller got caught in the net, the motor would burn out and the billion-dollar mission would end with a tangle of cables. However, the U.S. Navy did not come here to play by the other side's rules. The Arleigh Burke-class destroyer USS Dewey DDG-105 immediately abandoned its passive escort position. This 9,000-ton vessel performed a bold maneuver. It moved up current, positioning itself between the Chinese fishing fleet and the USNS Salvor rescue ship. Here, physics became a weapon. With its enormous displacement as the USS Dewey moved, it created an extremely powerful prop wash behind its stern. Imagine the ship as a large-capacity leaf blower that gardeners use after a storm. Violent swirling water created by the propeller and hull pushed all the debris, fishing nets, and cables drifting to either side, creating an absolute sanitized lane of clean water for the Salvor to operate safely behind it. With the nets that slipped through the Dewey's barrier, the U.S. Navy deployed its next move: 2 RHIB speedboats carrying the VBSS Visit Board Search and Seizure Special Forces team. They used specialized hooks to grab the drifting nets. But instead of pulling them onto the boats, they skillfully hooked and pulled them up current, releasing them to drift toward the propellers of the Chinese fishing boats loitering nearby. This was a humorous and profound psychological blow. According to maritime law, everyone cleans up their own trash. The Americans were just politely returning lost property to their fellow fishermen. If those nets accidentally got tangled in the propellers of Chinese ships and caused them to stall, well, that's called karma. Seeing that the net-dropping tactic had failed a Chinese Coast Guard ship, suddenly hoisted a not under command nuke signal and let the ship drift freely straight towards the USNS Salvor, forcing the American ship to change course to avoid a collision. But the captain of the USS Dewey was one step ahead. As soon as the signal flag was raised, he immediately broadcast over all international frequencies, his voice booming and full of feigned concern. Chinese Coast Guard vessel 5901. This is the United States Navy. We see you are in distress. Under international law on safety of life at sea, we will deploy a rescue team to your vessel to repair and tow you. Immediately, a U.S. rapid response team on a speedboat raced toward the Chinese vessel. The prospect of American soldiers stepping onto the deck caused panic on the Chinese side. A technical miracle occurred. The Chinese ship suddenly repaired its engine in less than 30 seconds and turned away to avoid being helped. Nothing repairs an engine faster than fear. Beneath the surface, another battle was also taking place. China deployed mobile sonar devices to record the operating frequencies and data of the Curvy-21 robot. In response, the computer system on the USNS Salvor activated its AI noise cancellation algorithm. It works just like the high-end noise-canceling headphones you use on airplanes. The system identifies China's simple acoustic wave patterns and filters them out completely from the image data, allowing the Curvy-21 robot to still see its target clearly. Simultaneously, the U.S. emits a layer of low-power white noise, causing the enemy's eavesdropping devices to only pick up meaningless static like a TV with no signal. Realizing these petty tricks had failed miserably, the Chinese command decided to escalate. They knew that direct confrontation would be suicide, so they switched to an invisible but far more dangerous weapon, a pincer attack combining legal and electronic tactics. The first spearhead was a legal trap. The Chinese Coast Guard CCG suddenly issued an emergency announcement on all frequencies declaring the establishment of a 500-meter special safety zone around the salvage point on the grounds of the risk of chemical leaks from the wreckage. This is a classic gray zone tactic. They used the pretext of environmental protection to tie down the American ship. If the Salvor accelerated or moved freely, the CCG would record and accuse the U.S. of violating environmental and maritime safety rules on international channels. The goal to restrict the Salvor's speed and freedom of movement, legally slowing down the salvage operation. Immediately afterwards, the second more dangerous prong was activated. China's electronic surveillance ELINT China, disguised as an oceanographic survey ship, began emitting high-frequency spoofing signals targeting the Curvy-21's data link and satellite communications Q-band, causing the robot's control commands to be delayed by 5 to 10 seconds each time, similar to playing a high-speed shooter game with network lag. But if China thought they could use jamming techniques to blind the 7th Fleet, they had seriously underestimated their opponent. On the destroyer USS Dewey, the electronic warfare officer EWO smiled coldly. It was time to execute the 3-step combat plan. First, upon detecting radio wave interference, the USS Dewey activated the Omega optical communication system, an invisible infrared laser beam, impossible to intercept or jam, shot through the atmosphere, reconnecting the data link to the military satellite. Bandwidth was restored to 100% in an instant. The order from the Pentagon was brief and decisive. Authorize limited electronic warfare. Target CCG command ship. Execute. Next, the USS Dewey gently rotated its gun turret, but the real weapon was the flat antenna arrays on the ship's sides, the ANSLQ-32 V7 CWP Block 3 system. Instead of causing widespread noisy interference, this system fired a highly concentrated microwave energy pulse directly at the command tower of the Chinese Coast Guard ship. On the Chinese ship, all radar screens suddenly went dark. The GPS navigation system reported an error. Most critically, their automatic identification system AI turned bright red system failure. In an instant, the 12,000-ton vessel Beijing's Pride became a floating brick blind and silent in the ocean. And finally, this was when the psychological warfare blow was delivered. As soon as the Chinese ship's AIS disappeared, the American captain issued a cold announcement. Unidentified vessel, your navigation system is off. You are now considered a maritime hazard unseaworthy. Your safe zone declaration is invalid. Request immediate withdrawal. To add insult to injury, the U.S. hoisted a Bravo flag, dangerous cargo, and sent a chilling warning. Detected unstable AIM-9X missile detonators underwater. Risk of widespread detonation. The Chinese captain was plunged into his worst nightmare. His ship was blind without radar/GPS. He had lost his legal authority to give orders, and now he was being told that a bomb was about to explode right next to him. With no other choice, the Chinese ship was forced to make an emergency turn, navigating by classic compass to escape dragging the entire herd fleet in a chaotic retreat. On the radar screen, the signal from Coast Guard ship 5901 began to move cautiously, drawing a sharp 90-degree curve to escape the area. Gone was the aggressiveness of those enforcing the law. In maritime language, this action is called the walk of shame. They had failed to impose their will, failed to cause interference, and most importantly, failed to save face. In contrast, on the USNS Salvor, the atmosphere returned to its usual cold professionalism. There was no celebration, no cheering. Only the rumble of the dynamic positioning engines restarting, keeping the ship stationary with the precision of a laser scalpel. The Curvy 21 robot dived back into the darkness, diligently doing its job as if nothing had happened. Ultimately, salvaging the FA-18 or MH-60 was not just about recovering metal, it was a message. Today's lesson is simple. Amateurs talk strategy, professionals talk logistics. China thought they could use swarm tactics to jam U.S. operations. But they forgot that the U.S. Navy doesn't operate as a collection of isolated entities. It's a massive integrated machine, executing a complex technical mission right under the enemy's nose, leaving them helpless to watch without daring to intervene. That's the overwhelming power of U.S. disciplined technology and logistics. The U.S. Navy doesn't need to prove it's the master of the oceans. It just needs to show up, and the oceans know who's boss. What about you? What technology do you find most impressive in this confrontation? Leave your opinion in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with exclusive military analysis from Navy Vector. Bye for now, and see you next time.